February 13th, 2021. Cold.
Hi y'all. I'm so frozen. I have one glove on because I gotta use this one for to work my camera with. It's really cold here in Texas. And I made a video yesterday complaining about the weather, but I'm probably gonna complain about it all week because we ain't used to this kind of weather. And it's really cold last night. I think it was, I don't know, 8 or 10 or 11 degrees. I don't even know. I was asleep, but it's very cold. And then I think it's 11 degrees right now, and it's about lunchtime. It might get up to about 19 or 20, supposedly. But there's been a new predicted low for Monday morning or Sunday night into Monday morning should be -3 degrees. And I just don't know when we've had weather like that. I can't even remember. I know we've had a few times it's gotten like 2-3 degrees. But I just really don't. Sorry, I got something in my throat. I just don't remember when it went into the negatives. It's happened very few times since I've been alive. And had to do some errands today. Had to go out. And it was hard to get out. I went to go get my pancakes at McDonald's. I do that every once in a while. I have a craving for pancakes every once in a while. With 2 syrups. And it was really hard. It was cold. I had to run out, start my truck. And as I've said before, the heater in my truck isn't working. It could be the cabin filter, but I could not even get the things undone because my hands cramp up when it gets cold. So I don't know. Maybe I'll try it again today. But anyway, it's just so cold this whole week, and the reason for that is because of the Polar Vortex, which is located it's in the North Pole this year. I think a few years ago it was over Siberia, but it's the stratospheric warming is pushing it down. It's already in Canada, so it's making its way. It's already in Canada into the northern parts of the U.S. and it's coming all the way down to Texas, and it's covering most of Texas, which is extremely rare. I know I say it again, we rarely go through this, but this is like one of the coldest. I remember a few years ago we had the same thing. The Polar Vortex pushed it down into Texas too, but it did not get this cold. And there's been I think temps like -30 and 40 degrees in Canada, which I cannot believe or understand how y'all survive it. How do the pipes not freeze solid? I mean, they would have to be so far underground because our freeze, the freeze line, and when you're building a house and you put the pipes in the ground, I know it's not as far down as like northern states, up in the east, northeast, when you're building a house. So I don't know. I know that when you live in a mobile home that you can put a heat tape around your pipe to keep it from freezing. And I just don't know what's the common thing for a house up there. I mean, even not just Canada, in the northern U.S., like in, I don't know, Minnesota and like International Falls, it gets really cold there. I know that. Fargo, North Dakota, Green Bay, Wisconsin, all that places like that. I kind of wonder, do the pipes freeze all the time? I mean, is this a common thing in wintertime? Because it did happen to me one time when I was in a mobile home and the pipes burst. And that's, just a ordeal to go through. So I can't imagine going through stuff like this, living in weather like this. Really, I don't mind the snow so much. It's the coldness that I can't stand, and ice. I don't like ice storms. And since it's not so much icy here today. The roads were really dry, and I drove normal speed. Well, I'm in a small town, so you can't really go faster than 30, maybe 35 through the whole town. And not until you get on the highway or the access roads can you start to speed up. But it was, there was several people out. There was a lot of people out. There was, all the stores were open and everything like that. So it was just the cold. There's no inclement weather, other than the cold. But it is kind of, there was some little snowflakes coming down earlier. They stopped, but, it's predicted that we're going to get like between 3 and 8 inches of snow here. I think starting tomorrow, maybe tonight or tomorrow, I don't know. It's going to go into, several days, because there's 3 actual snowstorms that are coming in from the northwest. They're coming down from the Polar Vortex is just coming down like a little loop down the, across, from the top end of, the states all the way to the eastern end. From the west coast to the east coast, just in this, covering almost all the country. And the temperatures up in the northern states are just so absolutely cold, and in the northeast they're going to get it really, really bad, because all the wind, all the, the pattern is pushing it all the way to the northeast in the northeastern states. And with the snowfall, and all across the country, it's snowing, and there's supposed to be thunderstorms and ice storms also up in the northeast being pushed into that with this first storm, I believe. And then there's a second storm that's going to come in after all the initial snowfall. I think within another day, another one's coming in that's supposed to drop some more snow. Not quite as much though, but it's going to be, compounded on top of the first snowfall. So I don't know if that is the total of that 3 to 8 inches were predicted. So I don't know if it's all 3 of these storms together, or if it's just the first one and then more coming in. So I don't know. And then the third little storm, I don't think it's supposed to be as bad, but it's going to come through, come down the Rockies and shoot all the way into Texas also. And that could last, they're saying, into next weekend. Maybe clear out a little bit of next week. It'll still be cold, but not as cold as it is now. But, I don't know if there's going to be expected snow with that third one. So there's 3 storms. And I thought it was just going to be this one little storm, one little snowfall that we're expecting tonight or tomorrow. But no, there's going to be 3 going, and it's going to be going from, like I say, from the west coast all the way into the east coast, and going across the middle part of the country. Now, the topper northern part, I'm sure they're going to get snow too, maybe a little bit, because of the polar vortex pushing down weather from Canada and all that. And there's going to be, the fringe part of that as these storms are moving across. Even though it's dipping down, it's still going to bring all that coldness through the middle of the country, though. And I did make a video yesterday about the crash in Fort Worth on the I-35, and it was so horrific and so awful. And a lot of that was due to the driving conditions and the streets, or it was on a major, interstate. And there's so many overpasses and so many dips and curves and all that, and their, access into one highway or another. People are entering into traffic and stuff like that. And then when they get going on these highways, they speed up. And if you've ever driven in Dallas or Fort Worth, which I have a few times, and it is a nightmare. And that's even without bad weather. And the first time I did drive in going through Dallas and Fort Worth, It was one of the scariest things that I've ever done in my life, because I was in this little city. It wasn't like huge, maybe 150,000 population. We had one loop around the city that was 2 lanes on one side and 2 lanes on the other. And it was a circle, and it had, just access. It encircled the entire city. So we didn't have a bunch of like flyovers and overpasses and entrances and exits. There was specific ones that you knew that were coming up, and they were spaced far apart. And so the first time I drove in, I was 18 years old, not experienced at driving on these super freeways. And the first one, I remember when we came over this little roadway, and all of a sudden, all it showed was all these overpasses and all these flyovers. It was just like spider web, going out. And it was terrifying. And we were going for a 3-day music festival at Reunion Arena in Dallas. And they were shipping in, all the 18-wheelers were bringing in the food products and the everything that they needed for that facility. It was sold out. It was like, I don't remember, 80 or 90,000 people there, plus all the employees and all the security, everything. So there was, several thousand more people. I mean, just bringing in toilet paper, bringing in food supplies, all the suppliers, and bringing in equipment, tables, chairs, whatever they needed, to set up, for the whole venue, whatever it takes. All these 18-wheelers were heading in the same direction I was going, or trying to go around into that area. Our hotel was just a few blocks away from the arena, and so all the 18-wheelers are passing by us, and we were in a little small car, and it was terrifying. And then it started to rain, and this is the middle of summertime, and it started raining, real hard. And these trucks were going 80 or 90 miles an hour, and they weren't slowing down for the rain. So it was, terrifying. We were screaming, and it was, when I look back, it's a little bit funny. But then again, thank goodness, I didn't get into a wreck or something, nothing, because me and 2 friends, were in the car, and I was the one driving, and it was terrifying. It was one of the scariest things I've ever had to go through. I still remember that. And I love driving, and I usually don't have any anxiety or anything about that, but I do with bad weather. And in a situation like that, it was terrifying. So please slow down, please be careful. And my heart goes out to those people in that wreck. And there was also one in Austin, Texas, too. It wasn't as bad. I think there was about 20 or 30, I can't remember, 20-something cars that were in a pile up there too also. I don't know if there were any fatalities or not, but I did hear something real quickly about a pile up there. And hopefully everybody was okay. And they don't get weather like this either in Austin. It rarely gets cold like this in Austin. It's, on the coast around, down south, along the Gulf Coast. And usually we don't get this, this bad enough that we're getting it here, that it's pushing all the way down there, where a lot of people have no experience. A lot of young drivers who've never really gone through, cold weather, icy or snowy conditions like that in Texas. And just hoping that everybody in Texas, please slow down. And it can be really scary, an ice storm when you're having to drive. Just make sure you slow down. That's the biggest key, is slow down. Even if people are passing you by, let them pass by. Don't try to change lanes or get in front of them. Just drive a slow, steady speed that you can survive at. Okay? Well, thank you all, and hope everybody stays warm and stays safe, please. Thank you. Bye.